Hi there, this is a quick introduction video to perspective, and I will just quickly go through different perspectives and kind of like what is perspective. So let's get started. So what is perspective? Now, it's a technique used to represent three-dimensional images on a two-dimensional picture plane. So what does that mean? So what you can see here is a picture plane. Now, what is a picture plane? Well, simply, you can think of it as a window to a view, to a thing, to a object that you are looking at. It's kind of like a window that you are just, looking through. Now, the ground plane is the plane that kind of showcases the different objects and items in a three-dimensional way. So you can see here that the ground plane is actually kind of like going towards the vanishing point. So the ground plane kind of like works as a 3D modifier or something. Then we have horizon, which is also called eye level. So this is the level so if you just watch straight towards you, you can see the horizon. That's the eye level. If you kneel down, your horizon level goes down. Or if you go, I don't know, climb a ladder, then the horizon line moves up and things look smaller when you are higher, and when you are, lower, then things look bigger. So the horizon level is always at the level at which you are looking straight forward. So that's the level you are kind of like working with. So that's kind of like horizon level work. Then we have a quote from Leonardo da Vinci. So there are three aspects to perspective. The first has to do with how the size of objects seems to diminish according to distance. So that's an important one. The second is the manner in which colors change the farther away they are from the eye. That's kind of like the aerial or atmospheric perspective. And the third defines how objects ought to be finished less carefully the farther away they are. So this means when you are focusing on a certain thing in your close proximity, then the things further away from that thing that you are currently focusing on, then those seem less finished because your eye isn't focused on those. So in simple terms, perspective changes size, color, and focus. So when you're looking at this image, you can see that we have different kind of like objects. We have cubes and we have, circles, spheres, whatever. Probably they are spheres, but I don't have the three-dimensionality kind of like lines there. So they are kind of like circle. But you can see the relationship between these objects. So that is also important in perspective, that you can see like this cube and this circle or ball, let's say it's a ball, it seems like the ball is smaller than the cube. Whereas in this example, the sphere or the ball is roughly the same size as the box. And you can see these different, examples of how these are, now bigger or almost kind of like the same size as this cube. But in this case, it's smaller. So that's also one thing to remember in perspective. So let's go through different kind of perspectives. So we have a lot of different kind of perspectives, but I will go through kind of like the basic ones or the most used ones. So we have 1-point perspective. This actually isn't used that much because it's very simple. But the main thing being that you have a eye level and you only have one vanishing point. So you have one vanishing point and all the orthogonal lines are going towards the vanishing point. But one thing we should also note is that we have what is called transversal lines. And these are straight lines compared to the horizon level or eye level. So these are straight lines. And then we have orthogonal lines, which are kind of like tilted or going towards the vanishing point. Then we have 2-point perspective. You can already see that it's a bit different. So now we have orthogonal line, which is related to the eye level, and I kind of like tend to see it as a vertical line But when you tilt the vanishing point, then it's not like totally vertical. It can be, tilted. So there's like let's say a 45-degree angle, then it would be tilted, but it would still be transversal line compared to the orthogonal line, which is going from this point to the vanishing point, as you can see. So that's kind of like how 2-point perspective works. Super simple. You have two different vanishing points. So that's one. And then we have another one here. And you can see how all of these lines are going to the vanishing point, which creates the cube. Like that. So that's how 2-point perspective works. 2-point perspective, I think it's a bit more used than 1 point, but that's how it works. Then we have 3-point perspective, and you can see that we have only orthogonal lines. We don't have any transversal lines anymore, so it's a bit different yet again. And I think 3-point perspective creates pretty good looking images and something that you should maybe take a point of. But the way it works is that you have 3 vanishing points. So the one that you see here, it's a bit off canvas, but how it works, you would kind of like draw the line here. And when they arrive at the same point, that's where the vanishing point is. And the same thing here. So if I draw the lines, you can see that this is the vanishing point. And if I draw the horizon level or eye level or horizon line, you can see that it goes to the vanishing point yet again. It just works in this kind of way. Like you have 3 vanishing points and all those creates the cube that you see there. So that's how 3-point perspective works. Okay, so then we have something that is a bit more complex, but yet again, it is simple when you understand how it all works. So we have 4-point and 5-point perspective. So in 4-point perspective, you can already see that it's kind of like a fish eye lens effect that you get here. So you can see we are kind of like creating a fish eye lens effect there. So it's kind of like works like that. We have horizontal orthogonal lines. So what I mean by this, and this is yet again something that you can kind of like agree, disagree how you see these, but I see them as orthogonal lines. So you can see that these are all orthogonal lines. It's kind of like a vertical line. Sorry, not vertical line, but a straight line that just goes to the vanishing point. But something that we don't have in 1, 2, and 3-point perspective is curvilinear lines. So curvilinear lines, and you can see how they work like this. And I see them as vertical lines. Yet again, vertical can be seen as a straight line from bottom to up. You can also see them as, going from down to up. I don't know how to say that, but anyway. So you have 4 vanishing points. So you have one here, here, and here. And all of those create the 4-point perspective. Now, one thing that you shouldn't mix with the 4-point perspective is the creation of 2 by 3-point perspective, which is, it's actually pretty simple, but the way it would work is that you would create, you would create kind of like lines like these. Instead of, like what I have here, these are curvilinear lines. That's what is about 4-point perspective. If I would create these straight lines, then that would be 2 3-point perspectives. Okay, so the way it would work is that you have like 1, 2, 3, but then we can also have 1, 2, and 3. So then this grid here would be one 3-point perspective, and this grid here would be another 3-point perspective. That's something to kind of like note here. And one thing that was a bit not so easy to find as an information was that what decides the curvature of the curvilinear lines. And it's this circle that is created by two vanishing points like this. So this is kind of like, well, of course, we should actually take this into account too. So this is the curvature that determines the curvilinear line's curvature. I know it's a bit mouthful, to be honest, but that's how it would work, or that's how it works. So these are the ones that decides or determines the curvature. Because in some videos you can see that people are drawing them like this. Like this would be the curvature. Except it doesn't work like that. This circle here is the one that determines the angle. Usually the 4-point perspective is created by these kind of like equally created vanishing points that creates a diamond, and then you do the curves, except that you take the circle into account. That's how 4-point perspective works. Then we have 5-point perspective, and this is the reason why I combined these two images together, because now you can see that they are roughly the same, except that they are actually quite different. So first you see that, well, we have a circle. Same thing here. We kind of like have the diamond, except that it's rotated to be a square. Then we have the 4 vanishing points, except in 5-point perspective, we also have what is called the middle, where all the orthogonal lines kind of go to. So that's one of the key things to remember when doing 5-point perspective. So now you have orthogonal lines going to the middle, but then you also have curvilinear lines going from, if we would say like from bottom to up, but we also have horizontal. So this is why I tend to, think about the horizontal and vertical curvilinear lines, is that we also have these kind of lines that go horizontally. Or that's how I like to think. Now you can see it's already quite messy, the whole drawing. But you can see that that's how 5-point perspective works. 4 vanishing points and a middle 5th vanishing point. So this is an introduction to perspectives, and next we will go through different kind of perspectives. So let's get to it.